Hi, it is Joe Mazumdar of Exploration Insights. I'm at the PDAC 2026 edition of the Metals Investment Forum. And with me right now is Andean Silver, technical executive, Tim Laneyrie, who's basically going to tell us all about Cerro Bayo and Laguna Verde. Thank you very much for joining us, Tim.
Thanks for having me.
So you're in southern Chile. This has been a previous operation. It's been on hold for a while. You guys got it very inexpensively. And what was the plan? Because you've been doing it for about 2 years. You took it over.
Yes.
So going forward, I've been to site. It's got a lot of exploration upside. But what's the plan going forward now that, to take advantage, let's say, of the silver price?
No, as you mentioned, it is a long-lived site. It's been established in 1994 by Core Mining, so it's had a 35-year mining history. And in that time, it has existing environmental impact statements, so the environmental permits are still in place. We have water rights, we have power, and we have a 500,000 tonne per annum float plant that's in care and maintenance that gets turned over and ready for a quick restart. So when we acquired the project, silver was $17, $18 2 years ago. So now in the current environment, we've sort of pivoted from that exploration stance to more of a growth and looking at the restart phase to, get the early cash flow coming in, but also take advantage of that infrastructure and permitting we have in place.
Right. And infrastructurally, you have gen sets, you have power, you have the ball mills, you have the crushers. So it wouldn't take much to actually restart it.
No, the mill itself, as we said, we have probably about 1.2 million tonnes capacity on the TSF currently. So if we really wanted to start the mill, it's a matter of a couple of $1 million just of oils and lubricants, a couple extra bodies, and we could have that mill going in a very short amount of time, processing stockpiles.
Yeah.
Which, at the current environment, when it was mined previously at $5 silver, there is still a number of stockpiles left on site that are extremely economic at this point in time.
Right. And that was what the former company Equus was doing. And they weren't making always a lot of money at that silver price, but now, and then you could run that while you're looking at taking other stuff from the, is it the Laguna Verde district?
Laguna Verde. So that's what we're doing now is we're actually taking this historic resource, as I mentioned, previous mined at $5 and $17, and taking that new lens and looking at what it looks like now into a mining scenario. We have about 9.8 million tonnes, 353 grams silver equivalent for about 111 million ounces.
And it's about 50-50?
About 50-50 gold, silver. We do have polymetals. We haven't even factored them into the equation yet. So just on a gold, silver resource, putting some scoping numbers around it currently on what an underground and open pit restart mining scenario will look like around that, which will then lead into feasibility into second half of next year.
So restarting this takes advantage of the silver and the gold price, but the big risk is feeding this, what is it, 1,500 ton per day plant?
1650.
1650. So what are the risks of feeding that consistently once you get past the stockpile?
What our initial results are showing is that we're going to use a combination of open pit baseload feed with the high grade underground feeds to actually
Supplement it.
it. So basically, we should have no problem getting to that 500,000 tonne, 1650 tonne a day range. Previously, operators had a production over exploration approach. So when you look at the production profile from Core and Mandalay, they would mine for 6 years, stop the mill for a year, find the next deposit, mine for 6 years, stop the mill. We want a nice, consistent 10, 12, 13-year initial mine life with our exploration to actually replenish resources and reserve behind it. So we're not making the same mistakes of past operators.
So in terms of the current path forward, what should we expect from Andean?
So we're currently finalising an internal scoping study in Australia. We need indicated to put out a PEA, and not infer.
Oh yeah, I should have said that. And you said it was ASX listed.
ASX.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're currently finishing the scoping study, which will then allow us to pinpoint exactly where we need to infill drill to get it to indicated, as well as updating the metallurgy, updating the geotech and everything. That will lead into a feasibility study, probably about mid-year 2027. And then that will then lead into looking at when the restart timelines will actually kick in, potentially around that 2028 period.
And permitting something like this, I know like it was a former operation, it's got a footprint, the tailings. And from my trip there, the locals really wanted that thing to restart for jobs because the tourism isn't enough. So now you have a new president in Chile. So what is that kind of environment looking now in Chile?
Yeah, for the previous 4 years, there was sort of a left-leaning government in Chile. So it was more on the less pro-mining. So now we have the government has gone more pro-mining, pro-jobs, pro-work. So what it's looking like for permitting is that the permitting will actually start to decrease in the timeframes that we're looking for, and it's going to be much more easier to actually get the operation going again. So that's our key time to actually now start taking advantage of when the new government comes in a month's time.
So, I mean, it's not capital intensity wise, it's not going to be a lot of capital to restart it. So, where are you in terms of funding?
So we've recently just raised. So we have about 60 million
60.
in the bank. So that was at the end of December. So right now we're fairly fully funded all the way through the feasibility level work. But for restart, as part of the options, if we want to restart the mill in the current capacity, as I mentioned, a couple of $1 million for oils and lubricants. For a upgraded mill study, which we're going to be looking at as well, it'll depend on if we go to, from 500,000 tonne per annum to 700, 800, 1 million tonnes per annum. So that's all part of the feasibility level work we'll do. So saying that, capital intensity is going to be, it's a sub 50 to 75 million US restart. That's with buying mining fleets and complete restart of the undergrounds.
So I know the local population, social license to operate, has been regained for that area. Permitting looks good. Capital wise, there's a lot of money for silver projects. So right now, technically, do you have the people to build this?
For the last 2 years, we've had an exploration focus. So when we bought the site 2 years ago, we had about 10 people on site. We now have about 180 people with exploration and drilling.
Because there was only probably
environmental.
that 10 people when I was there.
Went from 0 drilling to 4 rigs currently. So we have a real exploration and growth focus. Right now, we're looking at the team dynamics and going towards that restart period and rebuilding the team with that more engineering focus behind it and study management behind it. So it's sort of a pivot point for the company.
So, right now, as we speak.
Right now. So yeah, there's a bit of a pivot point towards getting that restart study engineering expertise in-house that we can then move on to those studies.
Right. And just for the viewers, if this was TSX listed, you'd be able to do a scoping study before your feasibility study because you would have been able to use inferred, but that's not allowed.
No, sure. That's it. So on the TSX, you can put our PEA on inferred resources. So our study is to that level right now. We just can't release it to the market. If we're on TSX, we could.
Right. And so right now that internal study will stay internal. What's the due date of that internally?
Pretty much in the next coming weeks.
Okay.
So yeah, well, we've already started the infill drilling. We're finalizing that work. As I said, that will then begin, all of the, optimization scenarios of upgrading the mill, moving the mine plan around. That will lead into the feasibility release in sort of that mid-27 period.
So what will be the gap then between the scoping study and your feasibility study for next year? Is that mostly drilling?
Yeah, effectively it's going to be our infill drilling. So we're planning on drilling between 50 and 60,000 meters of infill drilling, which will, as I said, will be used for both metallurgy, geotech, get the confidence up on the resource. And a lot of these are previously drilled by Core and Mandalay to 20, 25 meter spacing. So some of it's just 20 holes because they haven't been drilled in the last 20 years.
Oh, right. You can't use them. You can't use those results.
They were in previous NI 43 reserves under Mandalay and Core. So it's just the time frame that to get it comfort around for the jaw.
Oh, and then you could back it up with a hole right beside it.
Yeah.
Right. And so in terms of the gap and what you're doing, you're also looking at several other options in terms of development that they didn't try in the previous operations. What are some of those?
So some of the things we're actually looking at doing was renewable energies. So we have about 13, 14 megawatts of diesel power installed on site. Historically, the mine only requires about 8. So we have a lot more power than is required, but they never put renewables energy in place.
And it's a windy place.
As you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we're looking at doing is actually building a, substantial for the region, 7 to 8 megawatt renewable energy hub of wind and solar in the region, which would put 90% plus into our mine grid, which will bring our cost base down considerably. At the same time, provide benefits to the community. They run on diesel as well. They burn wood for heat. So potentially feeding that renewable energy into the local town grid as well, where our workforce comes from.
All right.
So community benefit.
Okay. I mean, for me, when I was down there, the social license to operate is pretty high in terms of just work that people are looking for. So in terms of your shareholders that were more interested in exploration, but now you've shifted, how has the alignment been?
The alignment has actually been positive. So in this current environment where metal prices are so
Yeah.
high, you can't just keep selling. You got to make use of what you have. So our shareholders have been pretty supportive on us pivoting and starting to realize value and put a timeline behind a restart.
So in terms of catalysts going forward over the next 6 to 12 months, I know there's an internal study that won't be published, and that's coming out soon, but there's also a resource update.
So we have at least one coming, which will be before mid-year, so in the second quarter this year. That'll be a combination of upgrade and conversion drilling that we're doing. At the same time, we're also going to be exploring. So as we put out every month, we're finding new veins to support this massive project pipeline that's going to come behind it. And at the same time, we're currently looking to permit about 150 greenfields drill platforms,
Right.
which is a large amount.
And those permits have been coming faster than they normally do.
Yeah, so we're currently doing the work on that to put them in place, and that's going to underpin multi-year exploration campaign behind a restart.
Okay. So lots of drilling on the exploration side, on the infill side, a resource update. And then what has been the historical growth on your resource estimates?
Historically, it's been about 20-25% each time on the growth.
Right.
We've taken the resource from about 25 million ounces silver equivalent to 111. So we've had a 360% growth in the last 2 years. So we're looking to continue that growth, but pivot more towards conversion at the same time.
Right. Are those two different programs? Really?
No,
No.
we're using the same four drill rigs around Laguna Verde to actually do the infill, but also, while we're there, put holes, step down.
Okay. And then the other additional upside is to go to Cerro Bayo and those other regional targets.
Yeah, and we've started that. We've just got 19 drill platforms permitted at Cerro Bayo. So all of our drilling for the last 2 years has been focused Laguna Verde. We're now going to put
Which is closer to the plant.
closer to the plant, saying that Cerro Bayo is only 6 kilometers away.
Right.
So it is still relatively close. We're going to start moving extra rigs there. So we have 4. We'll consider upping those to actually support an expanded growth campaign around Cerro Bayo.
Okay. Well, thank you, Tim.
No, thank you.
That's Tim from Andean Silver, ASX listed, ASL on the ASX. Silver, gold, gone from grassroots exploration, which you're still doing, but more focused on development to take advantage of an escalating precious metal environment. That's it for me. It's Joe Mazumdar, Exploration Insights at PDAC 2026 edition of the Metals Investment Forum. Thank you for listening.